Hi, this is John Carroll Lynch. My first feature, Lucky, is opening today in Los Angeles and New York, and I asked my friend, Dana Delany, to ask me questions about it, and she agreed. Yay! So here we go. What do you want to ask?
Okay, I first want to say that I've seen this movie, and it's fantastic, so you guys all need to go immediately, like today. And John did a stellar job. Stellar job.
No.
Really. It's my kind of movie. I loved it from the first frame to the last frame. I was mesmerized. Now, I know you. We all know you as an actor, John.
Okay.
We were on Body of Proof together. And since then, you've been working in a billion different things. And I knew you were interested in directing because you followed a director on Body of Proof.
That's right.
And we talked about it. And I also know that you are a really smart person.
Thank you.
Who sees the full picture. You know, he started as a classical actor at the Guthrie. He always sees the big scene, the big play. And I know you're interested in it. I also know that recently, because you've written about it also, you went through some serious things in your own life.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if you want to talk about those.
I'll be happy to.
Yes.
I'm waiting for your question, then
Okay.
I'll see where it goes.
All right. Let's talk about what brought you to making this decision to choose Lucky as your directorial debut, and was there stuff going on in your own life that influenced that?
Okay. I mean, first the opportunity came, and the script was really beautiful, and it was about something that was resonant in my own life. My mother had passed away, or my mother had passed away a couple of years ago, and that was part of it. My father's now 86. He was 84 at the time we shot the movie. And also, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer a few years ago. And that was something that resonated with me in terms of this movie, because I was perfectly healthy when I walked into the room, and suddenly I was not healthy. Like I had cancer. And I was like, wow, I don't feel any different. There's no change in anything I feel. And you know, I'm presently I'm you know, they don't say you're ever cancer free, but I have no prostate specific antigens in my bloodstream, or very little, not detectable. So right now I am back to health. Nothing changed except the operation.
Right.
So when this script came to me, and it was about a guy who has a moment where he falls down, and suddenly he has to wonder, am I okay? And he has to think about that. That was definitely part of why I wanted to do the movie.
Right. And did they want you to be in it at first, or?
Yeah, they did. Well, originally, I've known one of the writers for a long time, since 2000. I've known him 16 years.
And there's two writers, and their names
are?
are?
Yeah, Drago Shumania and Logan Sparks.
Right.
And they both have known Harry for a long time. Logan far more than Drago, because he was his assistant all the way till his death, just a few weeks ago. So they knew Harry very well, and they had written this script for him, and he had agreed to do it. And they asked me to play the character that Barry Shabaka Henley plays in the movie, Joe.
Yes.
And I was like, 4 days with Harry Dean Stanton.
This is the guy who runs the diner.
Yeah, he runs a diner that Lucky comes to all the time. So I said, well, 4 days with Harry Dean sounds pretty good to me, right? And then a couple months later, they called me and said, Drago had known I was interested in directing, and he said, I don't know, I've been thinking about maybe, would you want to direct this thing? And we all talked, three of us, and we all agreed that was a good idea, and that's how I got
Well,
to
you are the
director.
perfect person to direct, because you are a deeply feeling human being.
Thank you.
You are, and you have a lot of ethic to you, and that's, to me, the movie is a deeply feeling movie. And to me, for an actor, like, the hardest thing, people always say, what about the visuals? What about the visuals? So what was that like for you? And the name of your DP is?
Tim Scherstedt. And I had worked with Tim on Brotherhood of Poland, New Hampshire.
Right, and this guy has done The Wedding Singer and Little Miss Sunshine, but a lot of them are comedic things.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, he's done all kinds of things that are... I found out he did Mannequin. With Kim Cattrall
and Andrew McCarthy.
Exactly right.
Right.
And boy, we are really dating ourselves here on Facebook Live. Everybody's like, Google. Anyway, so he's been doing these things for a long time. But Little Miss Sunshine has a beautiful visual style to it, and he's always been visually interesting. Even in the television show we did together, it was did a lot of really amazing work. And that was extraordinarily helpful to have somebody who understood the visual ambition of the movie and was able to help with the process of getting that on film. that being said, I mean, I kept on making the movie over and over again from the time I read it.
Right. You mean
In my
your
head,
mind.
and
Yes,
also I
yes.
did some storyboarding, and then when Tim came on board, we did nothing but talk about how we were going to shoot it
Right.
and what the what the
And
style
I
was
assume you
going to
watched
be.
Paris, Texas.
Yeah, I watched Paris,
Because
Texas.
There's a bit of an homage to that.
There is a lot of that visual style in it. There's also, I mean, Mystery Train was another movie that was that I watched.
Right.
Also, Last Picture Show.
Right.
Those were all, and also
Which also use the landscape.
yes,
very
exactly,
clearly. Yeah.
exactly.
The
And
landscape's really important in this.
yeah, and we also talked about, you know, what if John Ford were to make a character piece? I mean,
Yes.
how do you put that body into space?
And where did you shoot all that Monument Valley-looking places? Was that Arizona?
Yeah, we shot almost entirely in Los Angeles with 1 day in Arizona.
You would never know that. Never.
No.
You really feel like you're in the middle of nowhere in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of nowhere in Los Angeles too. I mean, Piru, California is a fantastic place to shoot.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody shoots there because it looks like the middle of nowhere, and it's
Right.
and I really that's like the 4th or 5th time I've shot
Oh, how
in Piru.
funny.
So, but it was great to approach it as a director because it's so visually beautiful and interesting, and they're very sophisticated. The people who live there. So, at our level, we didn't have a lot of time to shoot
Right.
there because they know how much their visuals are worth.
Right. Now, speaking of visuals, there's some times in the movie that it takes us kind of like, especially with the coloring and the turn, there is a Lynchian moment, a couple Lynchian little things
Certainly
in there,
is. Yeah.
and with the reds and the greens. And so what was it? David Lynch is in this movie, who's hilarious and great, who was also a friend of Harry Dean's. What was that like to direct a director?
Well, he was terrific.
Yeah,
Because
he never gave you like
no, he completely approached it as an actor. And when he came in, the only conversations I had with him before he showed up were through like costume designer and through
and he
his
has a real
assistants.
look. He has a real
Oh
look.
no, he really does. And
Yeah.
you know, I wanted him to really be dapper. I wanted him to be somebody that was completely opposite to Lucky in terms of how they behaved, in terms of their dress. And the only thing he requested was a hat. So we found a hat.
Uh-huh.
And then in the midst of the working on the first scene we were in, which was the middle scene of his, I said, "Do you think we could maybe we could, you know, do this scene without the hat?" And he's like, "Well, if I take off my hat, they'll know it's me." Because you know he's and rightfully so. He's so aware of the fact that that's part of how he's.
You mean
His
the
iconography.
hair? Is he thinking the
yeah, his
hair?
hair, like how his hair looks is part of the iconography of who he
Okay.
is. I mean, he's a visual artist. He knows exactly what it's. I knew exactly what he meant.
I think I knew it was him even with the hat.
But he was quite right about that. I think he was quite right to be worried that people would just go, "Oh, it's just a star turn,"
Okay.
and he didn't want it to be that.
All right.
And neither did I. So I said, "Well, how about we just lose the hat here and then have it in the scenes at the bar, which make
Right.
more sense anyway because he comes in."
Right.
So, so he said yes, and I have to say that even though you know people who, especially who know and love David Lynch, they know it's him. But the minute Harry says, Lucky's character says, "What's the matter, Howard?" and establishes a name for him,
Yes.
like any other actor, you
Yes.
know well, you just go. Audiences are wonderful. They just, yeah, he's Howard now, and I'll just accept the fact that he's Howard until you prove me otherwise.
Absolutely, and he was so committed, and it was all about him and President Roosevelt, who I'm not going to give it away, but that's a very important character.
Very
This
important.
is President
That's right.
Roosevelt.
We live and die with President
Yes,
Roosevelt.
which I love. I loved it. And also, speaking of casting, this is an amazing cast of people that you do not expect to see. I mean, James Darren.
Yeah.
I did not know James Darren was in this movie. Now, I grew up watching him. I know he doesn't like this, but in the Gidget movies, he was
He's okay with
Moondoggy
it.
in the Gidget movies.
He's
I was
okay.
like, oh my God. And he looks exactly the same.
And what I love about this too is we've just sent everybody off to find out what Gidget and Moondoggy are.
I'm talking the original Gidget, not Sally Field.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, he came through Ira Stephen Bear, who produced this movie and was a producer of Deep Space Nine that James Darren was in.
Oh, right.
But
yes.
when we got
And
our
he's a very serious actor. He studied with Stella Adler.
yeah, and he's had the most interesting career because he started in those movies and then he went and he got a singing career, even though he wasn't a singer at the time. He has a beautiful voice. And then he did that for a while, and then he came back to television with T.J. Hooker.
Right.
And then he started directing. Yeah.
You do remember T.J. Hooker.
Okay, that's William Shatner, so maybe somebody will. And then the other thing is he then went off he directed things, and then he went back to singing. And then he did Deep Space Nine, and then went back to singing, and now he's come back to this. But the way in which he got into this movie was fascinating because we had lost the person who was going to play Paulie because the dates didn't work anymore.
It's funny how that works, right? And sometimes it's the best thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's lucky for all concerned.
Lucky.
Yeah, lucky. So Ira was driving up to Harry Dean's house to do a script day. We did these Sunday script days with Harry Dean. And he was driving up, and James Darren was broken down at the side of the road on Mulholland Drive, and Iris saw him and stopped, and they talked, and he's like, "Listen, I've got this thing. Maybe I don't know. I'm going to send it to you. I'll call you on Monday and see how you feel about it." And then by Wednesday, he was in the movie.
I love that.
Yeah, it was really great, and he's amazing in the film.
Everybody's wonderful in the movie, and you are great with actors.
Thank you.
You really are. I just love how everybody just has their moment. Just simple.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about Harry Dean Stanton.
Okay.
Because that's the movie.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I mean, that's the movie. It was written for him, about him. It's his philosophy.
Yeah.
It's how he looks at life. That must have been both interesting for you and him.
Yes, and as an actor, that the process of acting is really based on the idea that you're playing somebody else.
Exactly.
And then suddenly you're playing somebody that's inspired by you that isn't you.
Yes.
So all of those things that you do as an actor to get underneath a role and to attach yourself to it, suddenly have these weird eddies and currents.
I would be really self-conscious.
Yeah. And I think he struggled with that at different times. Once he's told all of these stories dozens of times at places like Dantana's or at his house. These are things in the movie like, the stories he tells about Lucky are really about him. And yet now they're about somebody who isn't him, and they're not in the same context. And they're going to be down for real in a place that they're almost for the record. So there was a lot of moments that he kind of struggled with that revealing. And I thought that was a real challenge, and that was one that I hadn't considered before we started on the first day. But he was brave in so many ways in this movie.
I mean, you're looking at mortality. You're looking at your own death.
Yeah, the subject matter.
Yes.
Along with the 18-day shoot for anybody, but particularly somebody who was 89 years old.
Right.
All the physical stuff he had to do in the movie, and he had to carry every single scene. Yeah. And all of that.
And all that yoga he had to do.
Well, yeah. All that yoga he had to do. I mean, he really, and he also reveals his body in the movie.
Yes.
So.
How was that for him? Did he?
He's so okay with it.
No,
he's so okay with it. But I don't. I mean, the movie rests on the fragility and vitality of who he was at that moment, and both things are apparent in his actual flesh. He was always such a flesh and bone actor in everything he ever did.
Right.
Even in Alien, he's always real. Always, it's never, it's incredible.
It's his hallmark, isn't it?
Yeah, it really was. It really was what he did. And so in this movie, he does the same thing, only we get to see it for, the whole film.
Yeah, there was a quality of film, a zen quality of like carry wood. I always get it backwards. Chop wood, carry water. The quotidian, day to day that we all do. You get up, you brush your teeth, you have your coffee, and there's something beautiful in that if you embrace it.
That's right.
And that's what we do until we die.
Until we don't have the chance to do that anymore. That's right.
And it was just so beautiful, and also the mystery of that.
Yeah.
There are some things in the movie that are so mysterious that I love that you never explain, barely.
Try not to.
And I love that you don't explain them, like the Eves, what happened at Eves.
Yeah.
And the red phone, and the phone calls in the middle of the night. And I don't want to give too much away, but there are some astonishing moments where you just go, it just takes your breath away.
I'm glad, Dana, I'm glad.
It's just so beautiful.
Thank you.
And the music, let's talk about the music.
Well, the music, the mariachi music is based again in Harry Dean's love of that, of mariachi music. But the other music choices, Elvis Keane, who was our composer, had to kind of step in and do four different pieces in the movie, and because most of the music in the movie is source music. It starts with a source, like a radio or a jukebox or something like that.
Right.
And then there are these. Then Harry Dean does music in the movie because his harmonica playing of Red River Valley is almost the soundtrack of the film.
Yes, I know, and I didn't get that right away.
Yeah, that it was him.
That it's Red River Valley because it's subtle.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is.
I happened to sing that in Tombstone.
Oh.
And I made this just a little bit about me. That was not the original song in Tombstone.
Really?
But that was my father's favorite song.
Oh wow.
So I sang that instead.
That's really
I don't
nice.
think the writer was happy about it.
It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out fine.
It worked out fine. It's funny. It's very funny. What other questions do you have?
I do want to talk about, yes, so we did that, we did that, did that, we did that.
We're going through it.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah. Are you going to direct again?
I want to.
Yeah.
I really do want to. And I'm looking now for something
hire
to do.
this man.
Oh, thank you. Anybody on Facebook wants to hire me.
Somebody hire him.
We'll see. We got time for one more question before we wrap up.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to ask?
I just want to talk about, we don't see these kind of movies that much anymore,
No.
and I think they're lost and really, really, really important. And I hope, well, how do you feel about that? Because it's about something. It's about life and death.
Well, I love movies that are about something and that want me to think about it more than, that get me past the parking lot.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment is great. I love entertaining people, and popcorn movies are terrific. But to the chewy movies, the ones that make you think about something in your own life and make you consider it, not in a way that's kind of a lecture, but in a way that kind of moves your heart, are the movies that I cherish. And it's not that I don't think they're being made or their ambition is out there. It's just the struggle to make them now is so much different than it was even 20 years ago. But people want to make them. I mean, everybody, you and I know, those are the movies that we want to sign up for, and we want to see, and we want to make.
And I also think there's a thing in our American culture that we don't want to look at death, and I think it's important that we embrace that.
Well, I mean, that's certainly my belief too. I mean, I've had a lot more value in my life on the days that I remind myself that I don't have all the time in the world. And that's an important thing. I know people get scared of it, but it's actually focusing. I put it, this will be it, and then we'll wrap up. I put it in terms of soccer. Because if you just took the time away from soccer, it would just be people running around forever putting a ball in some goal. And it would be like, why are we doing this? But you put a clock around it, and all of a sudden, every single move, every single action has meaning. Yeah. And then the last part of soccer, which is my favorite part metaphorically, is penalty time, which is they've had stoppages in play, and there's some guy standing on the sidelines with a stopwatch who times all those stoppages. And then, at the end of 90 minutes, they keep playing for however much time they have left, and they don't necessarily know how long it is. So that's kind of how I feel about Lucky.
Right.
Is that Lucky's in penalty time. Right. And he just doesn't know how much time he's got left.
Right, right.
And in a way, that's where I think that's where I am, is kind of in penalty time.
Yeah. One last question. What was your final moment with Harry Dean?
Sadly, it was the last day of filming. I didn't see him after that. It was great. It was a really warm day. David was there, and it was a real send-off. And there was a guy in the crew who did a painting of Harry Dean for Harry Dean, and that was beautiful. And it was just so great. As Harry Dean has always said to everyone, you're the best cast and crew I've ever worked with. He said that every time he's ever worked, and he did that again. And then he told us we were nothing. So that was a full day.
Do you think you need to explain that to people?
That we are nothing?
Yeah.
His essentially, he just wants to remind people that that what we're doing right now doesn't matter all that much. And he was even now
what we're doing
Live,
right now
right now
is nothing.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And speaking of nothing, you could spend a little time of your nothing going out to see Lucky tonight in Los Angeles and New York. We're open now, actually. So I think you could probably go see a show within the next
people
hour or so.
online were asking, how can they see it overseas? When are they going
Well, overseas, we have distribution in a lot of different countries, and they can check the Magnolia website for that, magnoliapictures.com. And if it's not there, then just follow me, and I'll find out who your distributor is.
Okay.
And then ask, if it's not coming to your local theater, email your local theater, call your local theater, and ask them to program the movie. You have that kind of power now. People really want to, cinema owners want to respond to you. They want to make sure you're in the theater. So come see the movie tonight or whenever it comes near you, or ask for it to come near you. And then we'll let you know later when it's streaming. Let's see it live.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh my
Thanks
God.
for doing this, Dana.
I'm so
It was really
proud
fun.
of you. I knew. I'm not surprised, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The trailer.
Oh yeah, by the way, watch the trailer right now. Right now.
Realism is the practice of accepting a situation as it is,
What you're saying is what you see is what you get.
but what you see is not what I get. They call me Lucky.
President Roosevelt escaped.
How does a 100-year-old tortoise escape?
I hope he turns up soon for Howard's sake.
I got this anxiety attack. I fell.
Lucky fell down.
Let's not make a production out of it.
No sign of concussion. Lungs are great, even though you smoke. You get much exercise.
I walk around all the time. I do 5 yoga exercises every day.
Nice outfit there, cowboy.
I was scared to death. I started thinking there's nothing out there. It's all black. The void. Este amor apasionado, anda turbo alborotado por volver, se querer.
Do you have any kids, Lucky?
None that I'm totally sure on.
You know, most people don't get to where you are. They never get to the moment that you're in right now, where you have the ability to witness what you're going through and clearly examine it.
I know the truth, and the truth matters. And you have to face that and accept it.
There are some things in this universe, ladies and gentlemen, that are bigger than all of us. And a tortoise is one of them.
Been very good today, so you get one of these.
What do I do with this? Stick it in my ass?
How about you just suck it?